Hey guys, welcome to Sunday School this morning. It's Sunday morning. We've got a good lesson today. We're going to be in Daniel chapter 1, and our title of today's lesson is Countercultural Living. Okay, the theme is choosing right in an ungodly culture. The target says that we need to know that God gave the young Hebrew men favor with the Babylonians when they chose to please God rather than follow the ways of the ungodly culture around them. And I will choose to do what is right no matter what others do, and choose to follow God's ways rather than the ways of the ungodly culture around us. So we all have choices to make, and it's our choice. Are you going to choose to do right, or are you going to choose to do wrong? Are you going to choose to follow God's ways, or are you going to choose to follow the world's ways? Those are some choices that we have to make, and this lesson's about choices and making the right choices. We all make choices every single day on what to eat, what to wear, what are we going to do, where are we going to go. We all have choices, okay? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. It says that when God gave Judah over into the hand of their Babylonian enemies, many Israelites surely doubted whether Jehovah God was as all-powerful as they had believed. The Babylonians definitely proclaimed it as proof their gods were stronger, yet God had only allowed Babylon's victory. He was still in charge. God was still in charge through all of this. God allowed the Babylonians the victory here. So we know that God is still on the throne. God is still in charge. In fact, he had raised up Babylon to serve his purpose. God used Daniel to demonstrate and proclaim God's power and sovereignty right in the middle of Babylonian and Persian power. So that's leading up to today's lesson. That's what we're going to be talking about today. This first part is verses 1 through 7 of chapter 1 of Daniel. It says, an ungodly culture will seek to make us like them. The Babylon, they went in and took over, and they took the best of everything that Judah had. Okay, Babylon's sensible policy was to take the best and brightest from the conquered territories and immerse them into Babylonian language, culture, and training. They wanted to make them like them. They went in, they took the best of everything that they had, and they wanted to turn them into what they believed in, how they were doing things. They wanted to do those things. So they took Daniel and the three Hebrew children, as we know them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay, but they had different names in there, and you can look in verse 6. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So we know them to be Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Okay, that's who we're talking about today. So they took those four men in to the Babylonians. We sometimes question why God is doing what He's doing. Why would God allow the Babylonians to take over and then take Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Why would He allow that? Well, God had a purpose. God has a plan, and His plan and purpose is always right. And He knows what He's doing. Okay, He knows what He's doing. And we just have to follow that plan and follow that purpose that He would have on our life. Okay, and we're going to see that plan and purpose play out through these four men in this lesson today. Daniel and three Hebrew companions, again Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They left Judah for Babylon in the first wave. So this is the first wave of them taking over. They took the four men with them. They took their place among other captives. There they had good food and lodging and a good education. and likely a guaranteed position in the administration after success in their studies. So they came in, they gave them good food, they had a place to stay, they gave them a great education, and then because of that great education, because of their studies, they were awarded a place in the administration. Yet one thing was clear: Babylon expected them to abandon their former beliefs, or at least to make them secondary to what Babylon ordered. So they brought them in, they took them, and they put them into training, gave them all of these great things, great education, and they wanted them to be just like them. That's what they expected of them. Education will always be a potent force for transmitting philosophy and beliefs to its students. Babylon explicitly sought to transmit its values through its educational system. So they tried to teach them how they lived. They tried to influence them by the great education that they were given. But Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were going to stick to their beliefs, okay? And that's what we have to do. No matter what this evil world may teach us, we have to stick to our beliefs and follow God's teachings, okay? I'm not saying that we shouldn't learn in school. School is good, okay? School, we get a great education through school. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these worldly views, these evil views out in the world that everybody's trying to get us to do. Okay, we don't need to follow those. We need to follow God's rules. Okay, so we must be ready for the culture's attempts to assimilate you. Okay, in a world in which everyone is constantly told to be yourself or be the best that you can be, there's a constant push to be everything but yourself. Okay, TV. All the TV commercials, what are they telling you to do? To wear this type of clothes, or to do this, or to do that. This is what you need to do. They're trying to make you like them. They don't want you to be yourself at all. They want you to be like everybody else. We've got to be ourselves. Television, social media, music, and other people work together to influence our minds and present a false standard of what is mainstream. Right, normal, or good. In fact, people who choose to believe the truth of God's word are often mocked and accused of being ignorant or closed-minded. We have to be ready to face these challenges by knowing what we believe and recognize why we believe it, and determined to stand for what is right, regardless of what everyone else thinks. Everybody, this world wants to push worldly views on us, and when we have the right to believe the way we want to believe, and we have the right to choose what we want to believe, and when we choose to believe and we believe in God and express those beliefs with others, we're mocked and ridiculed because of it. That's not right. Okay, it's not right. We need to stand up for what we believe in, no matter what comes our way, no matter if they mock us, no matter if they persecute us, no matter what. We've got to stand up for what we believe in, and that we need to stand up for Jesus Christ. Honor God by choosing what pleases Him rather than following the ways of the lost culture. Again, we have a choice. Are we going to choose what this world wants us to believe in, or are we going to choose to believe in God and what we know is true through His Word? That's the two choices we have to make. Daniel's objection to the royal diet seems to have started early in the process. There must have been something in the menu that violated the food restrictions in the law, and Daniel believed it would not please God for him to eat it. So he asked the official in charge of their training to allow them to eat something different. In verse 8 it says, "But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself." Daniel, he had been brought up and raised in the right way of the Lord. And they had certain foods at this time that they couldn't eat, certain things that they couldn't drink. And he was not going to go against his beliefs in God, and what God had told them what was good to eat. And he wasn't going to go. He wasn't going to go against that. He made it. He made a choice here to do what he thought was right, to do what he knew was right, and that was not to go against what God had said. So he had told them that I'm not going to eat this food. I'm not going to eat this food. And he told the eunuch that was in the one in charge. He said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go against what I believe. That's pretty bold in a place where you're pretty much a nobody. We've got to stand up for what we believe in, and if we do, then God's going to bless, and God will see us through. The explore part, it says, what was the problem with simply taking the food that Babylon provided Daniel and his friends? Some scholars consider that the meat and wine especially were not acceptable as kosher according to the law God gave to Moses. Others believe that the wine and meat were first offered to idols, and once that's offered to idols, then you're not supposed to partake of it. Okay, a precursor to problems the New Testament church would face hundreds of years later. Perhaps both explanations apply. Babylon was forcing these captives to change their education, their names, and their lifestyle. Daniel and his friends could do little to avoid the education or name changes, but they could resist when it came to the lifestyle, especially the food. And their response was to request a change of diet. They were sticking to what they knew to be right with God. They didn't want to do anything that displeased God. They didn't want to do anything that displeased God. They wanted to do what was right, and they were going to stick to it. They stood up for what was right and what they believed in, and God is going to bless. God granted Daniel and his friends favor with the official in Babylon. His objection, the eunuch, the one that was in charge of them, he said, "You're going to endanger my head if we change this diet. It's going to be on me. We have to go by that." And Daniel's response was, "Just give us 10 days. Give us 10 days, and you'll see what a difference this is going to make. Okay, just give me 10 days, and then decide what we should be eating and what we should be doing." So he did that. God honored the purpose in Daniel's heart in a visible way. This was the beginning of God showing his sovereign power right there in the corridors of power in mighty Babylon. God made it so obvious that the official decided to grant the request. So the official granted the request of Daniel to not eat what he was wanting them to eat. Instead, he went with what Daniel has suggested. He said we should propose in our hearts not to defile ourselves in areas where we have control. We have control of what we put in our bodies. Okay, we have a choice. Are you going to make the right choice, or are you going to make a bad choice? Okay, we need to be making the right choice in what we should be putting in our bodies, and we know what we shouldn't and what we should put in our bodies. Okay, we should also show ourselves respectful to those in authority by making appeals instead of demands, as Daniel did, and offering reasonable solutions. Daniel knew what God expected of them, and knew what was right, and wasn't going to go against his beliefs. He stood up for those beliefs. What he had been taught, he put God first in his life, and because of that, God blessed. God blessed them, and all he did was put God first. Put God first. You know, what would God do? What would, this is what he has taught us, and we're going to follow it. We're going to do those things that God would have us to do. And we need to be respectfully choose what pleases God no matter what others do. We need to choose Christ. We need to choose God first over anything else. No matter what somebody throws our way, no matter what somebody presents us, we need to put God first in that situation. When other people have negative, hurtful, and disrespectful attitudes toward us, it may be difficult for us to respond with respect, but we've got to. Okay, we've got to. However, if we really want to please God, we have to honor Him in everything we do, choosing to do right, but also choosing to have a respectful attitude, even when it's not easy. If somebody's wronged us or somebody's bad-mouthing us, we'd want to bad-mouth them back, but that's not what God's Word says. He tells us to turn the other cheek. And then He's telling us that we need to forgive them. Because if we can't forgive others, then how is God going to forgive us? We have to forgive them. When we have a loving and respectful attitude, regardless of the way we are treated, our actions speak Christ's love for others, and that's what we want to show. We want to display that love that God has towards all of us. God will use us for His glory. I like this. When we put Him first in our lives. God will use us for His glory when we put Him first in our life. If we're putting God first in our life, then everything else will fall into place. Okay? We have to be putting God first over everything, over our own interest, over the world's interest, over everything. We have to put God first. I don't know how much clearer that can be over the last month, over the last 2 months, or whatever. We have to put God first. Has that sunk into your head yet? We have to put God first. If you're watching this, if you haven't put God first, why are you not listening? It's in every one of our lessons. It comes up all the time. We have to put God first. And if we put God first, then He will truly bless us. He'll bless us. And He'll be with us every step of the way if we put Him first. We have to be putting Him first. This is verses 17 through 21. And verse 17 indicates that God worked in them in a way that went beyond their natural abilities. They had honored God, and God in return honored them. If we want God to be faithful to us, then we have to be faithful to Him. If we want God to do things for us and provide our needs for us, then we have to do His work. We have to listen to Him. We have to put Him first in our life in order for God to bless us. That's what we have to do. Whatever that you're putting ahead of God, we need to be getting rid of it. We need to be putting God first. Whatever it is in your life that that you think is so more important than God, then you need to get rid of it. You need to examine your life, and you need to make that choice to choose to put God first in your life. And I promise you, if you will, then things will start being better for you. You may be struggling right now. You may be going through hard times. You may, whatever it is. I promise you, if you put God first in your life, then things will be a lot better. Yes, will you still have some heartaches from time to time? Absolutely. But if you're putting God first, then He's going to see you through those things. If you're putting God first in your life, then those things that you're going through is not going to seem as bad, okay? Because God is with you and you're putting Him first. And if we're faithful to Him, then He's going to be faithful to us, okay? Remember that. They started out honoring God and maintained that purpose throughout their studies. The 3 Hebrew children and Daniel, they started out honoring God, and throughout their whole captivity with the Babylonians, they honor God through everything. As we're going to be studying Daniel, the book of Daniel, we'll see the stories be played out on how they stood their ground, and put God first in their life. And because they put God first in their life, God blessed them, and He's blessing them now as well. The king himself, and it paid off. And I promise you, if you continue to put God first in your life, it's going to pay off. The king himself examined each one at the end of it, and he was surely pleased to find them better equipped than his professional corps. It says, now after these 10 days, remember they had been doing the diet that Daniel suggested for 10 days. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers, and were all that were in all his realm. And Daniel continued even into the first year of King Cyrus. So when they came in, the king had found them 10 times better than everybody else there. And that's what God can do when you stand up for God, when you choose to do what is right, when you choose to obey God and put Him first in your life. God will come through and it'll pay off. If you do that. They had become instruments that God could use in ways that no captives could ever have expected. Not everyone can become as skilled as Daniel and his friends. Still, we should honor God in every way possible and apply ourselves to learning all we can about this world in which He has placed us in. We need to learn about these things, and we need to, more importantly, we need to learn about God and His ways and what He would have us to do. We need to do what is good and right, asking God for favor among the culture around you. These Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were taken captive. They were taken as prisoners, and God used them, and through them, standing their ground to put God first in their life, no matter what came their way, no matter what they wanted them to do, they were going to put God first. And honor God by doing that, not eating the food or anything like that. And because of that, God blessed them. He changed the king. That changed the king's mind on what what they were to do. They came out and they were 10 times. He said they were 10 times better than anybody else there. They were even smarter than the magicians and the astrologers and all of these people that he had in his court. They were better than them. And it's because God blessed them. God blessed them and used them and put them in a position in the Babylonians to be able to have a say. And God will do that for us. God, it may seem like the most horrible situation at the beginning, but if we stick to what we know is right, if we put God first in our lives, He will bless and He will see us through every situation. We have to do what is good and right, asking God for favor among the culture around you. So it usually is not difficult to decide what is good and right. Most of the time we know what we should and should not do. The struggle comes in the choosing. There are times when the right thing to do is not clear. In those situations, it is important to take a step back and just, take a step back, pray about it, get advice. You can get advice from me or Miss Roseanne or Jeff or Tiffany, a good Christian friend. You can just step back from that and get some advice before you just go diving right into it. If you have to choose quickly and there's a doubt as to what is right, go with what you know to be true. If you are in a situation and you can't make a decision because you don't know if you need to go and do it or not, and in the back of your mind you're like, I probably shouldn't do this, then you probably shouldn't do it. If there is a question whether you should or shouldn't do something, then you probably shouldn't do it. Okay? Go with your first instinct. Go with your gut. Pray about it. God will give you the answer that you need if you have to answer quickly. If somebody's is trying to get you to go to a party where there's going to be a lot of drinking and a lot of things going on that you know that you don't need to go to, then God will reveal that to you. You'll know, and you need to go with your gut. That might mean not going to the party, not sending that text, or being involved in whatever it is that's going on. It might mean staying at home with your family, or going to your youth group activity, or whatever it is. It may be that, hey, I need to put my phone down because I don't need to be looking at this stuff on here. This kind of choice can be difficult and might feel lonely, but however, there is peace in knowing you did what was right rather than what was easy. Okay, um, you know, um, there may be times where you have to, stay at home by yourself, and guess what? That's okay, because you did the right thing, because you did what God would have you to do. You didn't fall into the temptation of Satan trying to get you to do something bad or wrong. You followed your heart, and you did what God wanted you to do. You put God first in those situations, and that's what we all have to do: is put Him first, make it a priority to put Him first in your life, just like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did. And I promise you that it's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. You may miss out on the biggest party, or you may miss out on this and that because you think that because all the cool people are going to be there. Well, that's not, none of that matters. Okay, none of that matters. What matters is what God wants. What is going to please God. That's what matters. Put Him first in your life. Live for Him. Be that He would have you to be, and you're going to be all right. I hope that you stay encouraged. I hope that this lesson has helped you to just step back and just make the right choices and put God first in your life. It's good to talk to everybody. Good to see you. Hope to see you soon.